We acknowledge the first Australians as the traditional custodians of the continent, whose culture is the oldest living culture in human history. We pay our respects to elders, past, present and emerging, and we respect their cultural heritage, beliefs and relationship with the land. We extend our respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today. They share the memories, traditions and hopes of the traditional ancestors with the new generations today and in the future. We would also like to thank them for looking after this land for thousands of years.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to SciFest 2023. We are very excited to be joined again by Australian National Maritime Museum for their exploration of technology over time. So we've got Megan here again, and I will pass you over for another wonderful session, remembering lots of opportunities to ask questions as well. Thanks, Megan.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the Australian National Maritime Museum. Let me just share my screen here so I can actually show you the beautiful museum where I'm speaking to you from today. So this is, of course, the Australian National Maritime Museum in the beautiful Darling Harbour in Sydney, and it's an absolute pleasure to be working here and being able to share with you all about ocean technology. Before I go any further, I do also want to mirror the amazing, beautiful acknowledgement of country at the start there, and also acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of the land and water that I am presenting from today, and extend that to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people across Australia. Now, ocean technology, I guess technology more in general. I think throughout this session today, I'm going to have some questions that I'm going to ask, and ones like this, I'm actually going to pop up in a poll. So if you're a class of students, have a bit of a vote. Teachers, have a vote as to what you think might be the correct answer. The poll should have just popped up on your screen. What is technology? And if you're a homeschool learner joining us today as well, you can pop your answers in there. You can also select more than one answer if you'd like. And while you're doing that, while you're having a think about what you think technology is, I'll also just say that throughout the session, if you ever have a comment or an answer to a question that I'm asking you, I'm going to ask you to pop that in the chat and I can see that. You don't need to worry, the other students won't be able to steal your answers. But if you have a question for me, we'll have plenty of time at the end of the session for you to ask questions of me, and that's what we put in the Q&A section of Zoom. All right, so lots and lots of different thoughts about what is technology. So definitely a lot of people think it is electronics. And that's definitely, I think, the thing that most people think of when we use the word technology. A lot of people have selected something man-made as well. Yes, we often, all of the technology I have around me is definitely man-made. We have a nice mix of answers there. I'll give you one more moment if you're just counting up what everyone thinks in your class. So we have a nice range of answers there, and you can actually see there that actually every single one of these answers is technically correct. Because when we're talking about technology, we're actually talking about methods and systems and devices that are the result of scientific knowledge being used for practical purposes. This is a definition from a dictionary. So methods, systems, and devices. which are the result of scientific knowledge being used for practical purposes. So a great example of a type of technology is a ruler. We have a system based on science that is allowing us to, has a practical use, allows us to do things, allows us to measure things. So a ruler is a piece of technology, which I think is really amazing. So they can be really old. A wheel is a really old type of technology that we still use today, but they can be brand new. They can pretty much all of the technology that we think about are man-made. It's things that we put in place using our scientific knowledge to be able to help us in our everyday lives. So, not all technology is electronics. So yes, electronics are definitely technology, but we also have lots of old school types of technology as well. The pictures I've got up on the screen there are called lead lines or sounding lines. And all they are is a weight tied on a long string, and there are knots at different intervals along the string. And if you're on a boat, you'll actually use that to feed out the line, feed out the string, and see how deep the water is beneath you. I also have one here in my classroom. This is to actually measure your speed if you're in a boat, because you would throw this bit of wood out into the water behind you, and you would actually count how many knots in the string would flow out, how fast your boat was moving, and actually work out the speed of your boat. So these are great, I guess, very low tech. There's no electronics here, but they are really vital pieces of technology that have helped sailors understand our oceans and explore our oceans. Now, I'm actually going to play you a little bit of a video with one of our curators, Emily Jatov, explaining more about how scientists are actually using technology to map and explore our oceans. So let me play that for you.
Why do we map the ocean? We map the ocean to understand our resources and protect our underwater environment. Australia has the third largest marine territory in the world, around 10 million square kilometers, including waters off Antarctica. That's 4% of the global ocean. In the past, a lead weight attached to a line was thrown over the side of a ship. It had evenly spaced knots, so that when the lead hit the bottom, you could calculate how deep it went by counting the knots. This rope is 36 meters long or 20 fathoms deep. Today, ocean seafloor depth or bathymetry data are collected from a range of tools, from satellites to airborne and ship sounders. They see the seafloor in the same way bats see where they're going, by pinging sound waves off a point in the distance, in this case, the seafloor, and measuring how long it takes that ping to return. The most common way of collecting data is what we call hull-mounted multi-beam echo sounders. This is the multi-beam gondola mounted on the underside of Investigator. It looks like the space shuttle. It collects seafloor bathymetry data wherever it goes. Did you know that only 20% of the global ocean is mapped in detail? How do you protect and manage what you don't know? If you look at a map of the ocean, you can see ridges and valleys. Many of these have been calculated using maths. They've never really been seen. This is a great map, but it's like having a sketch versus a finished painting. You're missing a lot of the important detail. Governments, scientists, communities, and industry from around the world have committed to producing a complete map of the ocean by 2030. In the last few years, they've already mapped more of the ocean than in the 100 years before. A global ocean map is a good thing. Data on the shape of the seabed helps predict weather and climate, hazard awareness, and setting boundaries for all sorts of ocean activities. We also don't know enough about deep sea ecosystems. We cannot investigate or protect these communities and features if we don't know where they are. So for all these reasons, we need to map the ocean. If you love mapping, the AustSeabed website and data portal are open to everyone. Log on now to see what the seafloor looks like near where you live.
So that's just a little bit about how scientists map our oceans, are using ocean technology. But why? I'd love you guys to have a chat in your classes and pop in the chat box in Zoom. Why do you think scientists need to be using technology to learn about our oceans? Why do we think scientists need to use technology? And why do scientists need to learn more about our oceans? All right, so we've got some good comments coming through in the chat. So this is a great one from Kim. So we can learn how much plastic is in the ocean. Definitely, with so much of our oceans unmapped, we actually kind of don't know exactly what's there. And so the more we explore and learn about our oceans, we can learn about how much plastic is in there. Yeah, so we can see what is further below. This is a great comment from Trisha. Without technology, it's impossible to map the ocean and to discover new things. Yes, so technology is really important for us to allow us to map the ocean. We actually don't have the ability without using our scientific knowledge and without creating tools that actually can help us do that. So it would actually be really hard, almost impossible to actually map the ocean if we didn't use different types of technology. And we definitely can't get down deep enough ourselves. That's from Miss Hayden's class. Yes, humans definitely cannot go to the bottom of the ocean unless we use some very sophisticated technology, because the pressure gets too much and we get squished. So we need a lot of really important technology to actually protect us and to be able to protect equipment that can go down there. It makes it more accurate and efficient, definitely. So the older technology, the lead lines, the sounding lines, which is a string with a weight attached to it, is okay in terms of accuracy. But now when we have the new technology that we can put on the bottom of our ships, our research vessels, it does make it more accurate and it makes it so much quicker and more efficient to do it. Oh, there are new species to discover, definitely. So the more we map our oceans, the more we can actually find the different creatures that live there. It helps us understand the world we live in. It understands the different types of fish. A couple of different schools have said the different types of fish. And we can actually learn about the health of the ocean and the potential hazards that are in the ocean. Oh, thank you so much. There's so many great answers coming through there. And Cardiff Public School, to find new things in the ocean and learn how to protect it. Actually, St. Joseph's have also said to learn to protect the ocean and sea life, definitely. So the more we know about the ocean, the more we can protect it, and the better job that scientists can actually do to also predict and understand what's going on in the future with climate change. Thank you so much for all of those. Now, I have another poll, so give me 1 sec to get that one up, because it's all about this. What do we think I'm holding up here? And I'm just going to zoom my camera in so you can see it a little bit better. What do we think this is? Pop your answer in the Zoom poll. It's kind of flat. It's red and it's made of, well, have a think about what it might be made of. Kind of looks like a fish. All right, I'll give you another few seconds to pop in. What do you think this might be? And I'm super impressed that none of you went for my red herring answers. It's not to eat it, and it's not a kid's toy. It is actually to track ocean currents, and a lot of you got that right. So this is another type of low tech, no electronics in this, it's just a piece of plastic, but a really good way for scientists in the past to actually track ocean currents. This is a bigger picture of it. And these ones are from the CSIRO, which is Australia's big science agency. And what they would actually do is they get lots of these. They get lots of them. They've all got individual ID numbers on them. And they would release them at certain spots. They would record down the time, the day, the weather, things like that. And then if you found these on a beach, you would get, these particular ones were a 70-cent reward. Earlier, there are some different ones from different years with different amounts on them. But this one is a 70-cent reward. And what would happen is if you posted them back with recording where you found them, the time, the day, the beach, they would actually be able to track where the currents had gone. And you can actually see this great map of where the currents were taking these different fish, these bits of plastic in our oceans. Now, of course, it was a bad thing that we were putting plastic in the oceans. Of course, some of them probably did accidentally maybe get eaten, or at least get in the way of different sea life. But by understanding the ocean currents, it allows us to help better protect the ocean. It also helps with a lot of human activities in the ocean. And for example, a great reason that this is super important is if maybe a boat might break down or go missing. By understanding the ocean currents, it helps rescuers when we're trying to find people. If their boats are broken or missing, it helps us find shipwrecks if we know where the currents might have taken the shipwreck, for like historical shipwrecks, or if there are accidents. So this is super important for us to understand. There's also some great stories about some accidents that have also helped scientists. And a long time ago, a whole lot of bath toys like rubber duckies and things like that actually fell off a container ship in the middle of the ocean in the 90s. And scientists did the same thing. They knew where it had fallen off the container ship, and they were able to see where they were washing up on beaches to track the ocean currents. And there was even another time when Lego fell off a container ship by accident, but scientists have used where the Lego has washed up on beaches to also understand ocean currents. So nowadays we use different types of modern technology to do the same thing, to measure the ocean currents. But technology can be very, very simple. And this is one of my favorite types of technology because it is so simple. And it was something that you and me and everyone was asked to help with. And it's an example of citizen science where everyday people can help do really important things for science. So yeah, understanding ocean currents, absolutely vitally important. Also really important for us to understand our weather and climate change. You may have heard in the news El Nino and El Nina, which are all about ocean currents as well. So that is a really simple piece of technology that helps us understand our oceans and ocean currents. Technology also helps people. And I've got another question for you to pop the answers in the chat box of Zoom. What do we think this is? Has anyone seen this before? Well, I think everyone knows what this is by the looks. And this is an example of something you would use to send it. And this is electronics. So you'd need use kind of electricity and wires to send signals using Morse code, yes. And the dots and dashes I've got on the screen are SOS. So every single person who popped it in the chat there was right, SOS Morse code. And this is really important to help keep people safe. Morse code is a distress signal. And by having this sort of code, these dots and dashes, it allowed ships to actually say when they were in trouble. And they could send messages. And so sending messages is another really important type of technology. In fact, probably the most famous was the Titanic. Of course, everyone has heard of the Titanic. And the Titanic actually first started sending some different letters, CQD, which was a French, it comes from French, and it was an older distress signal. And then it was just about the right time, and they started, just as the ship was sinking, they sent some SOS messages as well. So Morse code, another type of technology that helps keep people safe. And technology is really important for safety. And I'm actually going to stop sharing for a second here because I want to show you another piece of really important technology for our oceans. And they are things like this. They come in lots of different shapes and sizes, and it is called an EPIRB. And what that does is it actually will send a distress signal if something happens, if you get in trouble, if the boat sinks. And there are big ones like this. There are even bigger ones that can be attached to the boat. And there can be little tiny ones that you can actually attach to your life jacket and things like that. And life jackets are another example of technology that we're actually using our understanding of science. So SOS Morse code evolved into little devices that can actually send out a distress signal. And we're also using our understanding of science and physics to make things like life jackets, new ones and older ones, to actually help us float. So technology, really important for safety on the water. And so technology helps scientists learn. Technology helps scientists keep us safe. So if ever you were out on going for a bit of an adventure, whether it's on a boat or on land, make sure you have some way that you can actually get help if anything goes wrong, if there's a storm or an accident. But here at the museum, we also use technology as well. So one way that we use technology with students is actually things like microscopes. I have an example of a microscope here. It's a pretty new one with a screen. But microscopes are a technology that help us see things that are really, really small. And one thing we look at using our microscopes is plankton. And plankton are tiny little critters, plants and animals that are in the water around everywhere. But particularly we look at the plankton in Darling Harbour, and you can actually have a look at it under a microscope to see things that are so small we can't see them with our naked eye. We also dive deep under the water, and we use a type of technology called a remote operated vehicle. Now, some of you may have joined me on Tuesday to learn more about remote operated vehicles as well, but I'm going to go over that a little bit more as well, just for those people who maybe didn't join us the other day as well. So this is us using our remote operated vehicles here at the Maritime Museum. And I also have one next to me in the room here as well. And so remote operated vehicles are basically like a drone. People fly in the sky. Drones are another type of technology. They're really useful. Or kind of like a bit like a remote control car. And we can drive them down in the water. So if we're thinking about our ROVs, this is what it actually looks like when it's under the water. So it's driving around, it's exploring, it's got its cord there, which we use to send instructions to it. So it's got its tether. But if we think we have our little remote operated vehicle, this one's got a claw as well. It's driving around in the water. What might we see underwater with an ROV? So you can pop that in the chat as well. So we've got these different types of technology that allow us to actually go under the water and see under the water. And scientists use ROVs too. There can be little ones like this one that we've got here. We also have really big ones. Some scientists have ROVs off research vessels that are the size of a car, the size and weight of a car. Oh, lots and lots of great answers coming through there. And I particularly like, we've got one school here, RHCS have said, many types of fish and other species may be helpful to find new species. Yes. We have yet to find any new species here at the museum, but scientists have used ROVs to go down to the deepest parts of our ocean and discover new species. Scientists are discovering so many new species in our oceans every year. Marine biologists and scientists are discovering species that we've never known about before. Some scientists and marine archaeologists also use ROVs to find shipwrecks underwater. We find sunken ships, coral, reefs, animals, fish, all sorts of, this is a good one as well, things that might be attached to piers. We can actually look at our built environment. We can look at boats underneath the water. And we definitely sometimes find rubbish and glass, yet to find any treasure. Thank you guys so much there. So these are just actually some of the things that we find under the sea with ROVs as well. So using technology to be able to keep an eye on these things is really, really useful. We can actually see what fish are living around the museum. We can potentially see the impact that pollution and rubbish are having on the sea life around our museum. So I've kind of raced through just a few different types of ocean technology today, some that we use here at the museum. But what challenges do we think technology might help us solve in our oceans? This is like kind of our last big question before it's time for you to ask some questions. what are some challenges that technology, different types of ocean technology, might help us solve? And this is something that scientists are working on now. They're also something that you guys might be able to help with in the future. All right. So we've had lots and lots of different ideas coming through of what challenges. And one thing a lot of people are saying is removing pollution and rubbish from our oceans. That's a massive one. And already we have some inventions that can help suck up rubbish out of our harbours. We have the sea bin. We have some here at the museum that actually catch rubbish in the harbour. There are also bigger machines that kind of scoop up rubbish in rivers and things like places like that. And definitely scientists are working on how we can actually remove rubbish from our oceans, like the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. So lots and lots and lots of different places that we can find rubbish in our oceans, and we can use technology to help us clean it up. So definitely, as we saw in the video at the start, we're using technology to map the sea floor. I've seen a couple of people talk about coral bleaching. Yes, the more we understand our oceans, the more we understand our oceans getting hotter and warmer, we can actually help work out ways to protect coral and prevent or at least lessen the impact of coral bleaching. So we can use technology to do that. This is a good one from RHCS. They will probably help us to know if there are dangers in the ocean and to know where it is safe to go in boats. Definitely, so we can understand more about where it's safe to spend our time. We want to go boating, we want to go catch fish, we want to go and have a nice holiday, do our recreational activities. So understanding where is safe to do that is super important. Understanding potential dangers. Oh, this is a great one from Kangaroo Island, to find people who have gone missing. That's a really important challenge that we can actually use technology to help us solve. So whether it's a boat that might have broken down or things like that, we can actually find people, and we can do it more quickly and more efficiently. But more we understand our oceans, we can understand, if we understand ocean currents, we can do that. We can also send out, for example, different types of vehicles, different types of technology to go try looking for people, finding people. And that's both in the ocean and in the skies as well. Using things like drones in the sky can help us do that. Oh, to find sunken ships, definitely. We're always finding more and more shipwrecks in the bottoms of our ocean, and that's helping us understand what has happened in the past. We can understand why those ships sunk to help us prevent it from happening again. So we can actually track sea life. We can actually see where animals are moving and migrating. We can understand their life cycles, for example, how they go from a baby to being a grown-up. We can use technology to understand all of the stuff that is happening with animals. And we can learn about specific species. For example, we can learn about sharks and new species. Thank you guys so much. That is so many amazing different areas that we can actually use technology to help us improve and actually help us make our oceans a better, safer, and hopefully more healthy place. So now it's time for you guys to actually ask me some questions. So if your classes have any questions there, you're more than welcome to throw them in the Q&A. Is the best place for me to find them. And I've been so impressed by all of the answers. I'm sorry if I didn't get a chance to read yours out, but it's been amazing to see all of your answers come in and to see you're really thinking about our oceans. Oh, here's a bit of a late one from the last question. To find space rubbish and rocket parts, definitely. So in most cases, when rockets are coming back down, the debris will actually burn up in the atmosphere, but occasionally it doesn't. And occasionally, yeah, we do find bits of space rubbish and rocket parts. All right, so having a think if there's any questions. All right, here's one from Kangaroo Island. What is your favourite bit of technology you've worked with? And so probably the ROV is my favourite bit of technology that I get to work with here at the museum. So I am not a scientist, I'm a teacher, and I get to show kids and students, allow them to teach them how to use it, and then they can go and explore around the harbour. I also get to have a look at things like our ships and the different types of sea life that we can find, and unfortunately the different types of rubbish that we find as well, but have a look around. And so it's so much fun to get to stand in the beautiful Darling Harbour and drive around an ROV. So that's my favourite piece of technology here. And there's another question there from Carol of where have we used the ROVs? So for us, we generally use them here at the museum in Darling Harbour, but we have also taken them to other places. And earlier this year, we actually got to take them to Bondi Beach, and we had a look in some of the rock pools there, and we're so surprised with the amount of different fish. It almost looked like a fish tank. There were so many different types of little fish in the rock pools around Bondi Beach, which was super surprising. So here's a question from St. Joseph's. Have you discovered any new species of sharks? So I haven't made any great discoveries of animals, unfortunately. As I've said, I'm a teacher, but we definitely, scientists are still discovering new things in our oceans. Sharks are a bit bigger than most of the discoveries that they make. They tend to be a little bit smaller, but we actually know more about the surface of the moon than we do the bottom of our oceans. So there definitely could be species of sharks or fish that are related to sharks down in the deepest parts of our ocean. And probably won't find a megalodon, but who knows? We can't say until we've explored everything, but scientists don't currently have any evidence for megalodon there as well. I saw that come up a bit as we were chatting earlier. All right, so here is a question from Jacob, Isabella, and Sophie. How far can the ROVs go? So our ROV that we have here, its tether, its long thing, string that connects it to the remote controller is 75 meters long. But it can go up, it's rated and pressure rated to go 200 meters below the water. So if we had a longer tether, we could go up to 200 meters down. But we don't need to do that here at the museum. Sydney Harbour is not that deep. And other people have made ROVs that can go a lot deeper. So, for example, when you're exploring shipwrecks, and this morning I was talking to a scientist who has been looking at a shipwreck that is 4,000 meters down. And they were using ROVs and technology that was going 4,000 meters below the ocean to actually explore a World War II shipwreck and to learn more about it. So different ROVs can go different distances depending on how they're built and the pressure rating that they are designed to go down to. Let's have a look. This is an interesting question, and I actually don't have the answer to it. So Michael has asked, how long will it take to clean our whole ocean? How long would it take to clean our whole ocean? I don't know. I don't think even scientists know. We don't actually fully know exactly how much rubbish is in the ocean because the ocean isn't fully mapped. We have an idea, and it's a huge amount. So we're going to have to create new technology, and we're going to have to come up with new solutions to actually help us clean up that ocean. And we don't know how long that'll take, but quite likely it'll take an incredibly long time. And we'll need to use lots of, I guess, countries around the world are going to have to work together to actually do that, to be able to clean up the oceans. Oh, we have lots of questions coming in about our ROV. So my favorite things to find and explore with the ROV is definitely all the different types of fish that we can see, and the fact that it still surprises me whenever we see something new and different. And even things like jellyfish and starfish as well. And yeah, some of the weirdest things. And I definitely do enjoy using technology, whether it's everything from, being able to use a ruler to measure things, can definitely use technology.
One of the things we can do as well, because there have been so many questions about the ROVs, so I can share the recording from the ROV session with the recording of this session as well. So if you've got those extra questions about ROVs, Megan's done a whole program on it that you can watch as well. And some of those questions may have already been answered for you on that one. So I will share that for you as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. And yeah, ROV is absolutely fascinating. If you didn't join us on Tuesday, definitely feel free to watch that one. I just saw a question about the drift cards as well. Are they still being used to track ocean currents? They're actually not anymore. And actually, if one washed up on the beach now, it actually wouldn't be very useful for scientists anymore, because they've been in the ocean for so long. We have no idea where they've been. Perhaps people collected them and then threw them back in the ocean. We just don't know. So now, there are still some in the ocean. There are definitely probably ones that never turned up. But they now have stopped being used by the CSIRO. They actually have, they're basically like little self-driving boats that have big solar panels on them and can send data using kind of satellite links to actually send data back. So they don't need, I guess, this same technology. And that's a great example of how technology changes as well. I'm just having a quick look through because there's so many questions. Oh, you're on mute, Karen.
Yeah, someone's just asked for some Joseph's Peak Hills, if you've ever been up to the Great Barrier Reef.
I luckily have been up to the Great Barrier Reef. It is absolutely beautiful. Went quite a few years ago, but I use technology there as well. I use my camera to take some beautiful photos, and now we actually have cameras that are designed to go underwater and things like that. I had a bit more of an old-fashioned camera that actually had a case, like these cases up here, that actually protected it from the water.
And I have to add to that as well. So I used the scuba diving technology to be able to go diving when I was up there recently. And there is actually a product called Teleport, I think it's called, which is an ROV that they use on the Great Barrier Reef. And you can actually log in and get a chance to drive it and have an opportunity to see some of the coral reef. So I can share that link as well with people.
Yeah, and talking about diving as well, another amazing technology is scuba diving. I had a go in a pool a long time ago, and it's absolutely amazing that we can actually have that technology to compress the air that we need to breathe and then be able to regulate that and deliver that to our lungs when we're down below depth under the water. But actually in the past, we used to use something like this. This is actually an old-fashioned diving suit from before scuba diving was invented, and you'd have this really heavy helmet that you can actually just see up here on a stand and a big rubber suit to actually dive under the water. So technology can also allow us to go different places, and submarines a great type of technology there. And I found another great question. Do you know if scientists are looking at developing an electric-powered boat? They definitely are. And I've even seen kind of people who are starting to look at different renewable energies for boats. So, for example, a container ship powered by the wind and the sun and solar and things like that. So lots and lots of different technologies and renewable energy potentially being used for boats, because of course if we can try and not use as much fuels to power boats, that would be very, very beneficial to the environment. Okay, so I have a question here that I'm actually, off the top of my head, I don't know the answer to. Tricia has asked for the tech that's on the bottom of the boat that was in our video there. I actually can't remember its name off the top of my head, but what I'll do is I'll forward through to Karen. We've got a whole lot of those ocean science videos on the museum's YouTube channel, and you can watch the video again to remind yourself about some of that different cool technology that the CSIRO is using on the Investigator. And the different tracking things are called EPIRBs. It's emergency something or other, but they're actually really common. So all boats and things will have them as a piece of equipment, and yeah, different types, but really important to be able to send out distress signals if anything happens.
Absolutely. I think we maybe got time for one more question, Megan.
All right, let me have a look and find one, because there's been so many coming through.
Well, while you're looking, one came in the chat about the largest animal you've ever seen.
Yeah, cool. Here at the Darling Harbour, we don't have massive animals a lot. With the ROV, we basically have seen fish up to about this big. We have seen jellyfish as well, and there is a friendly seal that I've never seen with the ROV, but he has popped his head up once or twice in the harbour. He also goes to places like the Opera House. So there is biggish animals in the harbour, but I also have been lucky enough when I was on the Great Barrier Reef to see some turtles, which are a lot bigger than you think they are. So turtles, that's the biggest things I've seen in the wild. Of course, seen bigger animals in places like the aquarium and places that are lovely to visit as well. But definitely scientists can go out in the ocean and see much, much bigger animals as well. And my life jacket just fell down. But yeah, life jacket, a really important part of technology that helps keep us all safe if we go on a boat.
Absolutely. Excellent. Well, thank you so much once again for sharing all of your knowledge and expertise, Megan. I think there's been so many amazing questions that have come through as well. And I will definitely be sharing that link to the other science videos as well, and especially the ROV one from earlier in SciFest, because so many questions about that technology. So absolutely wonderful to have you as part of SciFest 2023. Thank you, everyone, for being involved, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks, everyone. This National Science Week project is supported by the Australian Government and proudly brought to you by Virtual Excursions Australia.